Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. The wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call and find out what's for dinner at 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! All right, and a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, plus all of our independents, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, and WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets, Hotel TV, everybody on Chicago Food Favorites, by the way, brought to you in part by Chicago Food Favorites as well. Check it out on Facebook, Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Okay, so we have a little bit of house cleaning to do, and I would imagine a little bit of house cleaning seems appropriate when we think about what happens with the college football playoff. And I will say that the college football playoff already starts out with an astounding round of boos. The way the selection committee picked these clubs, I'll say these clubs because they're universities and colleges. However, they are really football teams at this point. So these are athlete students and not student athletes. That's kind of how you look at it. So as the teams go through their final rankings and so forth, you say, okay, well, the first thing that stands out is Notre Dame. Those guys somehow find themselves in the middle of this playoff, and they didn't even have to play a conference championship game because they are conveniently not in the ACC because all their other teams, the colleges, universities, teams are all in the Atlantic Coast Conference. However, football is not. And that is one of those head scratchers. You say, well, wait a minute. Why is that? Well, it's because of, wow.
Show me the money!
Yep, it's all about money. It's always about money. And so they get too much money from NBC and from the other colleges or universities in which they play their games against to be a part of another conference. Because obviously, if Notre Dame was a part of any conference, geographically speaking, they should be in the Big Ten as God intended them to be. However, that said, they don't get a first round bye, and they will play Indiana. Yes, they're going to play Indiana. Let me tell you something, folks. That Indiana club is no joke. And Notre Dame is minus 7.5 at the Open. And that game will be played in, about 10 days from today. But that game will be played in South Bend. But don't think for 1 second that that stadium won't be half packed with Indiana Hoosier fans. That's going to be one hell of a game. I'd like to go to that one. And here's the funny thing. That matchup for me is about as bad as it gets. That's like the Cubs playing the Cubs. See, for me, these are the two hated schools for my undergrad, for Purdue. Go Boilers! We have a new head coach, by the way. Anyway, these are the two, and so the lesser of two evils, as I see it, is Indiana. And I'm kind of rooting for them anyway because they got a really good thing going over there. And so for everybody in Chicagoland thinking, well, hey, we're going to root for Notre Dame. Well, think twice, because Indiana doesn't get the love for football. They never really have. And it's the old David and Goliath matchup, historically speaking, just not this season. This is a very evenly matched game. And remember, the home team being Notre Dame. Those guys lost to Northern Illinois, yes, on their home field. And Indiana is better, markedly better than Northern Illinois. So that ought to be one hell of a game. Now, awaiting that matchup is Georgia, who lost, well, better yet, they won the SEC title game. And that was over Texas, and it was kind of a wild game. And so I guess Georgia did earn their way into the tournament. That's fine. Now, sitting above them is Boise State with a nice win over UNLV. All right, by the way, UNLV lost their head coach to the Purdue Boilermakers, which I don't really think that is the right hire, and I'm going to get to that in just a little bit. But Boise State gets a bye, and they await the winner of the two runners-up from the ACC and the Big Ten, being SMU, who made one hell of a comeback against Clemson, and Penn State, who really was outplayed by Oregon the entire game, and the score looked a lot closer than what it was. Oregon ran up and down the field against Penn State, and SMU will likely do the same thing to Penn State. The question is, will the defense show up? And Oregon was just simply able to outscore. Seems like every time they touched the ball, they were in the end zone. Now, SMU is a very similar squad. They play a very similar game. They don't have a pocket passer, which certainly promotes some kind of chaos on the field, because Penn State doesn't do so well with a scrambling quarterback. So we'll see what happens there, because SMU is more that RPO type of a game. But the winner of that game gets to play Boise State on the blue field in Boise, Idaho, and it very well could be a blizzard. So if SMU does win that game, they're going to go from cold weather in Happy Valley to colder weather in Boise, Idaho. Now, in the top end of that bracket is the number one overall Oregon, which they absolutely deserve the number one seed. I don't think there's any question. But then a very good game awaits them is going to be the Volunteers of Tennessee. Of course, they always get a round of applause for us. And Ohio State, who always gets a round of boos from us because of their recruiting practices and everything else. Nonetheless, that's going to be one hell of a game. And, you know, it seems like whoever has the ball last in that game could end up as the winner. I mean, that's how that game could go. And you never know, folks. That's just one of those games you scratch your head and say, geez, I'm not sure which way that one's going to go. I really don't know. But what I will tell you is that that's going to be very entertaining. I think Tennessee is going to nose them out somehow, some way. And honestly, Ohio State does not deserve a rematch with Oregon. They couldn't beat them. Well, I mean, people say, well, you know, it was Oregon that beat them by some hokey rule. Whatever. I mean, whatever happens, happens. I'd rather see Tennessee play Oregon because it's kind of a cool matchup. But then again, if you see Ohio State and Oregon again, well, then those guys can't complain when they get their asses kicked yet again, if you know what I mean. And the top end of the bracket is going to be Arizona State, who gets a bye. They got their win over Iowa State, convincing win in the Big 12 championship, and they played the winner of either, well, it was the Clemson Tigers who won the ACC championship game over SMU versus the runner-up in the SEC championship game, which was Texas. That's going to be one hell of a game. Now, that game is going to be played in Austin, and so it's going to be Clemson in Texas for the right to play Arizona State in Tempe. And, of course, the top end of the bracket is the winner of that Arizona State game against the winner of the Oregon game. And the bottom bracket would be the winner of the Boise State game against the winner of the Georgia game. Now, the Georgia game will be the Sugar Bowl. We're going to get to the bowl games in just a moment here. The Boise State game. Now, Boise State will have a chance to play again in the Fiesta Bowl. Now, you may remember that's where Boise State made a huge splash onto the national scene with that Statue of Liberty play, probably about 15 years ago. And they beat, I believe it was Oklahoma, right at the end of the game. And that's when Boise State seemed to come into the big-time picture in college football. And so it will be Boise State returning to the Phoenix Valley to play the Fiesta Bowl, which I believe is played in Glendale, Arizona. And then the Oregon game will be played in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. And that's on January 1st, of course, which, of course, will be preceded by the Tournament of Roses parade. Probably the best parade next to, I think that's the best parade, even above the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. I don't know. But above that one, above that bracket, or above that, I guess it is that bracket, is going to be the Peach Bowl, where Arizona State will host that game. And that is actually going to be in Atlanta. And so, again, they play the winner of the Clemson and Texas game. So we don't know about what's going to happen with those games, but it would seem to me that likely Oregon will advance to the championship game despite who they play. But Cinderella sits at the bottom. Now, there are two Cinderellas, Cinderella and her sister. Apparently, maybe they both live in the dungeon. I don't really know. But that's going to be Boise State and Indiana have a chance to square off. And boy, that would be one hell of a game. I'd like to see it. All right, back here in a few minutes with more college football on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call
714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right. All right, and a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, including our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Over in Auburn, Alabama, War Eagle, our friends over there, WAUD 1230 AM, that's home of the Atlanta Braves. Big hello to our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, the Yankees, who lost out on the Juan Soto sweepstakes. Probably a good thing, though. And also the Alabama Crimson Tide. All right. Everybody else on Chicago Food Favorites, thanks for joining us. By the way, folks, if you don't know what that is, check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. It's the only Facebook group that I know of that is promoted on national television and radio. And it's good stuff, folks. Have some fun with it. Post your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes, your likes, your dislikes. I don't give a damn. I'm the administrator of the group. Let's have some fun. Just don't spam the group. If you spam the group, I will strike you down, and who knows? You never know what's going to happen. But we do giveaways on there as well. Last year we did some great giveaways on this show for Al's #1 Italian beef. We gave away, I don't know, about 10 pounds of Italian beef. And boy, that was a huge hit, and we're in negotiations right now to see if we could do that again. But anyway, folks, that's Al's #1 Italian beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. All right, moving on. Now let's go to this college football bowl situation. Now, we did go over the college football playoffs, which was, I got to tell you, it was kind of a conundrum looking at the way the selection was picked, but it is what it is, folks. So outside of that, what do we have? We have college football bowl season. I love this. And yes, it seems like there's 100 bowls, but whatever the case, it's always this time of year. It's kind of a cool time because you've got the World Series is going on, or World Series, the winter meetings is going on. Excuse me, I already had the World Series. The winter meetings are going on for baseball. Football's in full effect. Everybody's positioning for the Super Bowl or the playoffs, etc. You've got basketballs in full swing. College basketball. Love college basketball. Yes! Hey, watch out for Cooper Flagg from Duke University. Man, that kid is legit. Also, you've got the wrap-up of the college football season, and basically these are the rewards for all those student athletes that are actually playing, and they're not sitting out waiting for the NFL combine and garbage like that. But these are fun. And then we think about the bowl games. Starting out with the first one, I got to tell you, I'm not happy with this right off the bat. And it's not the matchup. The matchup is fine between Jackson State and South Carolina State. This is the Celebration Bowl, brought to you by Cricket, whatever. So, and it's played in Atlanta. Now, what I don't like is you've got the HBCUs, they get a bowl game. And it's kind of nonsensical in the grand scheme of things. When you look at the HBCUs, you say, wait a minute. Why are the HBCUs only going to one bowl game? I don't understand this. I mean, somebody please chime in and tell me why the HBCUs only get one bowl game. How come schools like Jackson State or South Carolina State or Grambling or whatnot, how come they don't get to go to the other bowl games as well? Why aren't they, I don't know, why aren't they given any kind of admittance into them? And honestly, I'm a little confused, I'm a little befuddled, and I'm very disappointed in the fact that they don't get a chance to play in these other bowl games. I mean, it's a bunch of nonsense. Why is it that there's the alleged Celebration Bowl? And let's face it, it's played on December 14th at noon. So be it. All right, which means it's 9 a.m. Pacific time. So people that sleep in on a Friday night, for example, they're not going to get a chance to see this. And the only way you're going to see the Celebration Bowl is if you go out of your way to see the Celebration Bowl. It is a bunch of BS. And there's not even a link for radio coverage or whatnot, just like some of these others. It's buried somewhere like, okay, we'll throw them a bone and we'll give them a BS bowl game. So the Celebration Bowl, as I see it, is a bunch of BS. I think that these teams from the HBCUs have a shot. They should get a shot to play in all the other bowl games. Got to tell you, hello, Deanna. I don't seem to understand how and why, but let's move on. Then we have, on the same day, it's the Salute to Veterans Bowl. That's played in Montgomery, Alabama, with South Alabama and Western Michigan. I don't even care about the point spreads. The point spreads in these bowl games are pointless, and at the end of the day, they are ridiculous. In fact, almost as ridiculous as this baseball prospect of Roki Sasaki, the Japanese pitcher, right-hander pitcher. I'll get back to him a little bit later on. But the Salute to Veterans Bowl game is played in Montgomery, Alabama, another warm weather spot. Now, a few days later, we go to Frisco, Texas for the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. Why do they have to have these sponsors on there? Oh, maybe because there's only about, 1,000 people in the seats in the first place. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Anyway, it's the Frisco Bowl. We'll just call it the Frisco Bowl. That features Memphis and West Virginia. A couple of decent squads. It ought to be an entertaining game. And I guess if you're just going to the games to have a little bit of fun with them, that's half the battle right there. You can't go with any real big expectations because it seems like if you go with expectations that you're going to be sitting in a sold-out crowd and all this other crap. Now, chances are, folks, I got to tell you, you're probably going to be, if you go to these games, you'll probably be sitting in there with maybe a couple thousand other people, and that's about it for these lesser bowl games. When I say lesser, I'm talking not the Bowl Championship Series, or I should say the CFP games or the Capital One games or whatnot, because they really promote the daylights out of those. The Boca Raton Bowl, but you can call it the Boca Raton Bowl. Depends on where you're at. A very good matchup is Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, and James Madison, the Dukes. Now, if you're down in Boca, down in Florida, in that part of Southeast Florida, make it to that game because you're going to be really treated to one hell of a game between a couple of deeply underrated squads. So that ought to be a good one. Now, on the same day, on December 18th, will be the Art of Sport LA Bowl. Hosted by, you heard it, by Gronk. Gotta like that one. All right, I like that one. We're going to give him a round of applause. And that's going to be the Cal Bears against UNLV. And boy, the Cal Bears, I don't even think that they're going to be the home team in that one. Honestly, it's going to be the team from Vegas that will be the home team. But they're going to be, I guess, having the last hurrah for their coach, Barry Odom, who is now going to coach at Purdue. And that is, listen, folks, I'm going to talk about this for just a minute, because when we think about Big Ten recruiting and we think about what does it take to be a Big Ten head coach, what does it take to recruit in a very competitive Big Ten in the first place? I'll tell you what it takes. It takes a recruiting background. It takes Power 5 or Power 4 experience. Now, we saw this experiment. It is an experiment. We saw this experiment with Auburn, our friends down there in Auburn, Alabama, a few years ago, hiring Brian Harsin from where? From the Mountain West Conference. And Brian Harsin comes in, he has this great resume from the Mountain West Conference. Comes from Boise State, a solid program. All right, and I think that's great. However, when we look at what happened at Auburn, with Brian Harsin. Look, first of all, the Mountain West guy, the Group of Five coach, could not compete in recruiting in the Southeast Conference against the likes, of course, of Texas A&M, Georgia, Alabama, blah, 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 right? All of those clubs, now which includes Texas and Oklahoma and Tennessee. Well, think about this. Now, with Purdue hiring the UNLV coach from where? From the Mountain West Conference. We have the same conundrum again, as if we don't have a case study to learn from. And I don't give a damn if Barry Odom had experience with Missouri and with Arkansas. He was at best a 500 coach. He's 0-3 in bowl games. How in the world is Barry Odom going to compete now, of course, with our arch rival, being Purdue's arch rival, Indiana? They're not going to compete with them because, remember, their head coach was the head of recruiting for Nick Saban and Alabama. All right, and so he's the newest guy in. How is he going to compete with those guys from Columbus, Ohio, from Ohio State? How are they going to compete with the guys from Ann Arbor, from Michigan? How are they going to compete with the guys from Happy Valley, from Penn State, and on, from USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon? He's not going to compete. That's really what this experiment result is likely going to be. Unless you have Power 4 experience and a winning background, you've done something on the biggest stage, and you've been able to recruit successfully in that arena, then you're worthy of a Big Ten job. Hell, the first call I would have made, even though people say, you're wrong, I would have called Ed Orgeron, because Ed knows what it's like to win a national title. He knows what it's like to compete in a heat and hot, contested environment. And honestly, I think Purdue just spent a bunch of money again chasing a very bad story, which we already have a case study with Brian Harsin and Auburn University. What a bad situation that was. Anyway, Purdue, it's going to be a very long decade of losing in college football. Sorry, folks. It is what it is. Back here in a few minutes with the rest of these bowl games. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are podcasts. No, we don't do a podcast, but we have them on all platforms, such as Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, etc., and so forth. So there are about 2,100 shows on there. If you want to binge listen, I don't know, for a few months or so, just go ahead and grab a very large beverage, a sleeping bag, a pillow, and your favorite snack, and listen to the thousands of episodes of the Sports Circus. And also, while you're at thesportscircus.com, check out the store. So on the top, right across the top of the page, there are different tabs, and hit the store tab. Lots of great Christmas gifts and holiday gifts for your favorites, whether it's Hanukkah or whatnot. Guess what, folks? TheSportsCircus.com has all kinds of great gifts from this particular program, from knitted hats to winter hats to ball caps to sweatshirts and hoodies and fleece coats, sweatpants, you name it. There are all kinds of great items there at thesportscircus.com. Check that out, folks. A shameless plug, of course, for the Sports Circus. It is a shameless plug. Anyway, all right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio, all of our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, everybody that may be listening on all of our independents as well, even everybody watching on television. Pick your favorite affiliate in your favorite market. We could be there as well. All right, back to these bowl games. We left off with the Gronk hosted LA Bowl between Cal, the Golden Bears, and UNLV. Moving on. Yeah. On December 19th, it would be the New Orleans Bowl. Never mind these sponsors. I don't give a damn about these sponsors. I'm not going to give them any extra love because they're not giving me any love unless they start...
Show me the money!
Maybe I'll start calling your names out, if you know what I mean. All right, so that's how I look at that one. All right, so the New Orleans Bowl features Georgia Southern and Sam Houston, a very underrated matchup. I got to tell you, I think some of these bowl games, some of the committees, boy, they really got some of these right. And I think this is one of those ones that people are like, who the hell's Georgia Southern? Who the hell's Sam Houston? Listen, Sam Houston is legit. Georgia Southern will give them one hell of a game. That's going to be played, I believe, down at the Superdome. All right. Now, the next day on the 20th is going to be the Cure Bowl. Yes, the Cure Bowl. That's going to feature the Bobcats of Ohio against Jacksonville State. I think the winner of the Sun Belt, if I'm not mistaken. They beat a very, very good squad in their championship game, their conference championship game. And that game is played down at Orlando. Now, they have that stadium in Orlando. I remember I've seen a game down there. I went to the old Champs Sports Bowl, and that was back in the day. I saw Purdue play the Terrapins of Maryland at that stadium. Went with my father probably about 15 years ago. But it's the same stadium. It's a nice stadium. But, you know, just remember, if you go down there and you get a front row seat on the 50-yard line, which is what I got, it turns out that there's a walkway in front of you and, of course, some kind of a fence which obstructs your view. I didn't know that. So here's my dad. My dad's complaining the whole time, what the hell's the matter with this seat? It was really funny. I have a video of it, too, of him, rest his soul, in his complaining. It was kind of funny. Anyway, moving on the same day on December 20th, 3:30 p.m., and that would be Eastern time, of course, is the Gasparilla Bowl, and that's played down in Tampa. That is the Green Wave of Tulane against the Florida Gators, who really came on at the end of the season. And, boy, that's going to be a fun one. And somehow I think that Tulane's going to find a way to win that game because they got ousted in their championship game. But nonetheless, they got ousted from big play in their championship game. But anyway, Tulane and Florida, very good game. On the same day, 8 p.m. Eastern, is the college football playoff first round game played in South Bend between Indiana and Notre Dame. We're going to be rooting for Indiana in that game. That's the number 10 and number 7 matchup. Now, the next day, on December 21st, the first round game between SMU and Penn State will be played, of course, at Happy Valley. On the same day, first round game, college football playoff, will be played at Austin, Texas, with the Longhorns hosting the Clemson Tigers. Same day, first round in Columbus at the Horseshoe will be the Volunteers of Tennessee against Ohio State. All right, on to 23rd of December will be the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Features the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina and the UTSA Roadrunners. Got to tell you, that's probably going to be one of the best bowl games of the entire season. Mark that one down. Two very good squads, Coastal and UTSA. If you don't know anything about them, that's going to be played, by the way, in Conway, South Carolina. If you don't know anything about either of these clubs, go check them out. A very exciting game awaits, and I'm going to give the edge to UTSA. Boy, that is one hell of a squad. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl, played in Boise, is going to be Northern Illinois, who beat Notre Dame, and Fresno State, the Bulldogs. That ought to be a good one. We're going to give the edge to Fresno State in that one. The Hawaii Bowl, played on Christmas Eve. South Florida, going from warm weather to play San Jose State over in Honolulu. Now, on December 26th, it's going to be the Game Above Sports Bowl. I don't even know what the hell that is. Oh, that was the old Motor City Bowl, I believe. They have a new sponsor there. Between the Panthers of Pittsburgh and the Rockets of Toledo. Very good game right there, too. Watch out for those Toledo Rockets. Those guys are legit. The Rate Bowl, played on the same day on December 26th, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, will feature Rutgers and Kansas State. Kansas State ought to do some real damage in that one. That's played over in Phoenix. The Ventures Bowl. Yeah, the Ventures Bowl. I don't even know what that is, but the matchup is good. Arkansas State and Bowling Green will be playing at 9 p.m. in Mobile, Alabama. That's right there on the shoreline of the Gulf of Mexico. The Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. We'll give Lockheed the sponsor on that one. Armed Forces Bowl, Oklahoma and the Naval Academy. And that's played down in Fort Worth, Texas. One of several games played in the greater Dallas Metroplex on December 27th. Also, same day, Birmingham Bowl, Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt. Boy, that ought to be a good one. We're going to give the edge to Georgia Tech in that one because it's a road game for Vanderbilt. Same day, December 27th, 7 p.m., the Liberty Bowl, one of the old ones. All right, we like that. Texas Tech Red Raiders against the Arkansas Razorback. Let's see if Pig Suey can hold off that big Texas Tech offense. Played down in Memphis. That is a very, very good matchup and a very good location. On the 27th of December is the Holiday Bowl. Syracuse and Washington State. Every year, that's one of the best bowl games at 8 p.m. Now, same day, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, is the Las Vegas Bowl. Texas A&M and USC. Oh, my. Right here in Las Vegas. On the 28th, the Fenway Bowl, UConn and North Carolina. That's Mac Brown's final game. That's going to be in North Carolina all day. Same day, the Pinstripe Bowl, played at Yankee Stadium, Boston College and Nebraska. A very good matchup there in the Bronx. That's a noon game, so get up early to watch that one if you're on the West Coast. And on the 28th, same day at 2:15 p.m., the New Mexico Bowl features the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana against the TCU Horned Frogs. A very good matchup and a very, well, not so, let's just say a lackluster bowl game. Now, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, yes! The Pop-Tarts Bowl, Iowa State and Miami. I'll watch that one. I'll even eat a Pop-Tart during it. That's on the 28th. Same day is the, I don't even want to say this one, the Arizona Bowl. Let's just call it the Arizona Bowl. Played at 4:30 p.m. That's Miami of Ohio against Colorado State. Same day, 5:45 p.m., the Military Bowl. East Carolina and NC State. That's the Go Bowling. All right, the Go Bowling Military Bowl. Hey, I bowled a 300 game last July 9th. How you like that? December 28th, Valero Alamo Bowl, BYU and Colorado. That'll be Brigham Young in a good defensive game. Same day, the Independence Bowl, one of the old ones, of course, in Shreveport. The Thundering Herd of Marshall against Army. Boy, Army is going to run real big in that one. The Music City Bowl on the 30th features Iowa and Missouri. That one should be Missouri in a defensive game. The Reliquist Bowl, the 31st, Alabama and Michigan. Look for Alabama to go big in that one. The Tony the Tiger Bowl, yes! I have Frosted Flakes on that day, December 31st. Louisville and Washington. Watch for Louisville to have one big day. Same day, the Citrus Bowl. That's South Carolina and Illinois. Illinois' defense should hold up in that one. Same day, New Year's Eve, the Texas Bowl. Baylor and LSU. That should be LSU all day. Same day, 7:30 p.m. right before the clock strikes 12, is going to the Fiesta Bowl, and that's going to be CFP quarterfinals. Boise State is hosting Penn State. On January 1st is going to be the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. Clemson against either Texas or Arizona State. January 1st, Rose Bowl is going to be either Tennessee or Ohio State against Oregon. Also, January 1st, Sugar Bowl, Indiana or Notre Dame against Georgia. And when we come back from break, we'll get into the January 2 games and beyond. All right, folks, back here in a few minutes, wrap up college football, talk a little baseball when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by AMP TV. How's that? AAMP Television. Folks, maybe you have an idea to do your own show. Maybe you want to do your own radio show, your own TV show, your own podcast, whatever it is. Now, look, there's 4 million podcasts sitting out there, folks, but listen, the battle in this is not necessarily, or better yet, it's not only content, but it's also distribution. Now, if you don't know how to get your show out there, that's what AMP TV does. Production, pre-production, broadcasting, editing, post-production, and distribution is what AMP TV does. AAMP Television. If you want to learn more, give me a call. You call me. 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100. And listen, folks, I've been in this rodeo for over 8 years on my own, and I've been on air for a decade, and I've kind of figured this circus out. Hence, I started my own show called The Sports Circus, right? But anyway, what it really is, it's about getting your content out there. And how do you get heard? How do you get found? A lot of people are missing that piece of the puzzle. If you want to learn how to do it, we can produce shows for you, distribute them, and all that fun stuff. But you got to learn how to do it if you don't know how to do it. And if you don't, you're just going to be one of the other 4 million odd podcasts that are sitting out there and not getting the attention that your content actually deserves. All right. Welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. And, of course, all of our independents and Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Spectrum, Time Warner, WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets, hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast, as well in all Nielsen-rated markets, plus everybody's streaming on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, plus all of our other streaming platforms. All right, left off with college football in the bowl games. And the last one we talked about, of course, was the first round of the CFP quarterfinals going on in January to the Gator Bowl. And that one features the Duke Blue Devils, yes, and Ole Miss. So you've got a high-powered defensive squad in Duke against a high-powered offensive squad with the Ole Miss Rebels. And for me, this is kind of a cool matchup. I came very close to going to school at Ole Miss. I was going to go to law school there, ended up going to Loyola Chicago. However, Duke is where I went to business school. So got that MBA from there. And I tell you what, folks, two very different programs that are going in very similar directions. How do you like that? Very good matchup, underrated matchup. This could be one of those 21-17 type of games. I don't think you're going to see 100 points scored in that one. However, you could see it in the next game on January 3rd, the next day, in the First Responder Bowl. Another one played down in the Dallas Metroplex, down in Dallas. That is the Serve Pro. I'll give you guys a little love. Serve Pro First Responders Bowl. North Texas and Texas State playing in Texas. Boy, that ought to be one hell of a game. I mean, who's the home team there? I don't know. But that's going to be one hell of a game, though. I'm kind of rooting for the Mean Green in that one just because the name is kind of cool. All right, next would be the Mayo Bowl, and that's by Duke. Well, because I just said Duke, we'll go ahead and give Dukes a little bit of credit there. Anyway, January 3rd, same day, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, features the Golden Gophers of Minnesota traveling down to Charlotte to play the Hokies of Virginia Tech. Something tells me, I think this is PJ Fleck's last game. I don't know if he's still there in Minnesota or did he already make the move. Anyway, it's going to be a very high-scoring affair between these two squads. Not a lot of defense played when these two teams are on the road, so look for maybe 80 or 90 points in that one. Kind of like the Bahamas Bowl. On January 4th, features the Buffalo Bulls against Liberty, played down in Nassau, Bahamas. How do you like that? Boy, one hell of a place to go if you're from Buffalo. That's for sure. So look for a big Buffalo contingent to escape the snow and the blizzard conditions down there in the Bahamas. Now, moving on, it's going to be the Orange Bowl. Now, that's the CFP Finals on January 9th. And, of course, those teams are to be determined. The next day will be January 10th, Cotton Bowl. The Cotton Bowl Classic played down in Arlington, Texas. Now, that ought to be a very good matchup. Along with January 20th, we're going to wait on that one for the national title game for this whole CFP nonsensical top 12, which, I don't know. I'm wondering where the hell Army is in this whole thing. Army at 11-1. How is Army not in this college football playoff? They're going to beat Navy in their game that's coming up, the Army-Navy game. But how in the world is Army not in this? And Army ends up in one of these military bowls, whatever the hell it is. That's a bunch of crap. Why aren't they? Look, the East-West Shrine game played on January 30th, and all the way to February 1st is the Senior Bowl. And so, I wonder about what's going on in the grand scheme of things with this selection. Because, look, Army's going to play in the Independence Bowl. And look, it's not a bad bowl game, but for Christ's sakes, these guys are playing on December 28th in a lesser game. And these guys have one loss. Well, guess what? They're 11-1. They're going to go to 12-1. They're going to have a better record, although they lost head-to-head to Notre Dame. They're going to have a 12-1 record, which will be better than what Notre Dame has, because Army also played in a conference title game, and which they won, and they're going to win in this particular Independence Bowl. Look, these guys are just as good on a neutral field as Notre Dame. So why didn't they get the nod? What's wrong with those guys getting the nod? Oh, that's right, because they're a group of 5, where Notre Dame isn't even in the picture, because why? They're an independent. And those guys get an astounding round of boos. That's Notre Dame. Army belongs in the CFP playoffs, not those guys from South Bend. And that's my piece, and I'm sticking with it. And if you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to like it. But I'm going to give an astounding round of applause to the cadets from Army. Okay, now that the applause has played out, we're going to shift into baseball. How about this? How about the baseball inductees into the Baseball Hall of Fame? All right, now the Baseball Hall of Fame will be inducting a couple of new members from the classic era, and we like that era. Of course, that's going to be in next July's induction, and that's going to be the great Dick Allen from the Chicago White Sox. Yes! Yes! And the Cobra, Dave Parker. Another big round of applause. Two guys that certainly deserve it. And, of course, they were announced as the newest Hall of Fame inductees just yesterday. They received at least 12 votes from the 16-team committee. The classic era ballot features players, managers, umpires, and executives whose primary contributions to the game came before 1980. Now, of course, Allen was 13 of 16 ballots, and Parker was 14 of 16 ballots. These guys earned it, and they were the only two players on the ballot who hit 75 threshold, that's the 75% threshold, necessary to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. Now, look, these guys are certainly deserving. Look, this era's classic era committee included 6 Hall of Fame players, 5 former executives, 5 historians or media members. Now, of course, Ozzie Smith, Lee Smith, Paul Molitor, Eddie Murray, I have his rookie baseball card, by the way, Joe Torre, and Tony Perez were appointed as the 6 players. Sandy Alderson, Terry McGurk, Dayton Moore, Artie Moreno, and Brian Sabean were appointed as former executives, and Bob Elliott, Leslie Heapy, Steve Hurt, Dick Cagle, and Larry Lester were the media historian contributors. Now, Dave Parker, let's get back to him. He spent 19 years in the league, earned 7 All-Star nods, and won back-to-back NL batting titles at 78 and 79, or 77 and 78, excuse me, which was the same year he was named the NL MVP. And by the way, that same Dave Parker ended up winning the World Series with our friend Manny Sanguian and the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1979. This guy had a great career, which, of course, back that 78 was the same year he got the NL MVP. Remember, he won 2 World Series, as I mentioned, through his career. The first with the Pirates, as I just mentioned. The second, again, with the Oakland A's. And back to Dick Allen. Dick Allen has been close to immortality 2 other times, and he fell 1 vote short when he was considered for the 2015 induction, and again was 1 vote short when he was considered for the 2021, just over a year and a half after his death. This time, there won't be a next time. Allen, whose exclusion from the Hall has long been a glaring omission, has finally gotten the nod. In fact, Dick Allen, the 1964 National League Rookie of the Year and 1972 American League MVP, he came up with the Philadelphia Phillies, famously the last NL team to integrate, and was their first black star. Despite his stellar play, the Phillies maintain a very dubious relationship with Dick Allen, insisting on calling him Richie when preferred name was Dick, and refusing to support him in the media. And he asked the Phillies to trade him before the 1970 season and got his wish. The Phillies traded him to the St. Louis Cardinals in exchange for Curt Flood, who famously refused to report to the Phillies after the trade, which eventually led to the creation of free agency. And of course, Dick Allen landed with the Dodgers after a season with the Cards and was traded to the Chicago White Sox in 1972. He spent 3 seasons on the South Side, but between his MVP awards and his signature look, big sideburns, big glasses, and a big Fu Manchu mustache, he made huge impressions and remained beloved by our White Sox fans. Yes! And that would be me too, of course. And it was a longer road to the beloved status for Allen and Phillies fans, and he returned to the team for the 75-76 season, but didn't have a career renaissance. And in fact, he retired the following 77 season with a career slash of .292, .378, .534 batting line with 351 home runs, 320 doubles. Many of Allen's White Sox teammates continue to speak glowingly of him and have actively campaigned for his Hall of Fame election. The Phillies retired his number, just the 6th ever retired in the history of the Phillies franchise in September 2020, just 2 months before his death. And there were 6 other players on the Classic era that didn't make it, though. Tommy John was one of them. Come on, Tommy. We got to get Tommy in there. And of course, though he received just 7 votes, Ken Boyer, John Donaldson, the great Steve Garvey, a friend of the circus, Vic Harris, and Louis Tiant all received 5 votes or fewer. That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Remaster Cell. We'll see you next time in about 23 hours on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.